Well, the motivation, I think, is for all clubs to have an element of financial stability at the beginning of every new season. Until then, it's no secret that the clubs that don't qualify for European competitions find themselves struggling, obviously, to compete with those who actually do qualify. So I think the element of solidarity amongst all clubs, so they all have a base from which to start every season and at least try and launch a competitive campaign.
We can imagine that the teams that don't tend to qualify will have been behind this deal. They'll be happy to get money they weren't getting otherwise. How have you convinced the bigger teams, the Lincolns, the Robba, St. Joseph's, who are now going to get a smaller portion?
Yeah, well, I think it's important to clarify that it's not just the GFA who has convinced the big teams. I mean, this initiative has very much been led by the clubs themselves, who meet regularly in the GFLA, which is the Gibraltar Football League Association. And the GFA ourselves have been involved in helping and encouraging it. So they themselves have had this discussion. I think COVID was a bit of a wake-up call for everyone, especially for themselves. The daunting possibility that European competitions wouldn't go ahead because of COVID would have meant that the financial situation of all clubs, especially those qualifying, would have been heavily affected in that sense. So they knew themselves that something had to be done. So it has been a collaborative effort from the clubs, the GFLA and the GFA as well.
And have you an idea of how this money will be distributed among the teams?
So the agreement is phased in a number of seasons. It involves, from the club side, it involves the portion that UEFA gives to the champion of the domestic competition. So whoever wins the league, which always competes in the Champions League, they get a certain amount for being the domestic champion, and it's that chunk that is being distributed. It's done on a percentage basis and distributed as per the position in the league at the end of every season.
And you mentioned that the GFA will be making a contribution themselves. Is this coming from an existing budget?
Yeah, so ourselves, we have a program called the Pillars Program, which exists already for 3 years. We give funding to the clubs based on certain incentives, and through discussions this year we have contributed more than what was agreed to sort of push this deal through. So we thought that it was the right time to bring everyone together, and it was important for us to look at this Pillars program and how we award the funding and how it's incentivized, but to up that enough so that sort of get this through the line. So it's been a very, very good collaborative effort between everyone.